Hi guys, Heru Horus the Sky God Pharaoh. Imagine trying to bang your best friend's wife multiple times. And he say after he saved your life and he's living in your house. This is the tale of how long would Brian Griffin be put in jail for. I'm guessing about 5,000 years, but without further ado, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's see how long Brian Griffin's prison sentence is.
Almost every Family Guy character has their own criminal past. But what if they were actually brought to justice over the terrible things that they've done? If that did happen, Brian Griffin would be in some very hot water. The canine may be cute, but he's definitely not cuddly. In fact, he's committed a bunch of crimes over the years, which I will be categorizing by sentence length. This first crime is already super messed up, but at least I'll start this video off with a bang. Stewie becomes interested in a blood brothers ritual he saw on television and asks Brian to try it out with him. But the baby wakes up the next day with a very mysterious red mark on his mouth. Ow! What's this? Ah!
You son of a... You gave me herpes! Wait, that's crazy. There's no way I gave you herpes. Then how do you explain this? You're a gross...
Brian protests his innocence, but Stewie exposes the dog by finding the herpes rash under his fur. Thanks to Brian's selfishness, poor little herpes-ridden Stewie loses all his preschool friends and is forced to attend a wedding with the embarrassing mark of shame. Chris finds him moping on the couch later that day and tries to make him feel better.
You're not alone.
How so? You've got herpes too?
I also got it from Brian. He knew he had herpes and he didn't say anything. Maybe he was mad I gave him fleas. I don't know.
Chris, if you're the one who gave a dog fleas, now is the right time to finally take that shower. As revenge for giving both of them herpes, Stewie and Chris hack Brian's social media and embarrass him to the world.
You hacked my Facebook account. We actually just changed your profile picture. Ah, damn it! Look, enough, okay?
Having his herpes exposed on Facebook may be a better punishment for Brian. If the law got involved...
Hi, excuse me, miss, hello. What if I told you I could get you some money right now? I wouldn't believe.
Though, Brian would be facing 6 months in jail. That's 3 months per kid he deliberately spread herpes to, and it's definitely too light of a sentence if you ask me. I mean, those were kids, and herpes is a lifelong disease. If you want to see one of Brian's scummiest moments ever, just go back and watch the episode American Gig-Olo. Brian has a hernia, and he needs surgery, but he won't be able to afford it as Peter's health insurance no longer covers him. Lois suggests that he get a job to pay for his own insurance, and Chris asks how he got the injury in the first place.
Actually, I got it performing an incredible act of heroism.
Somebody help me! I'm sinking!
Hurry! I can't hold it!
And if I were Chris, I'd be really sorry for asking, because that couldn't have been further from the truth. This is what actually happened.
Let me just unstrap my baby!
Slipping, sorry.
I will never again feel sorry for Brian when he gets his kicked by the other characters. He just lets her and the baby drown, and that violates the Rhode Island duty to assist law. The law makes it a crime to not help at the scene of an emergency if you can assist without endangering your own life. Brian looked pretty safe to me. So by abandoning the rescue, he's broken the law. He would be sentenced to 6 months in jail, a very lenient sentence for an oxygen thief like him. Brian and Stewie are best buds, but sometimes Brian forgets about the age difference and takes Stewie along with him to do very adult things.
Is he 18?
Horace, the drinking age is 21.
Buying alcohol for a minor is a misdemeanor warranting 6 months in jail. Next time, Peter and Lois should just pawn Stewie off on Meg and Chris. When Stewie's not there to yell at Brian's bad driving.
You think Meg and Chris would do a good job either?
Great, let's do it. Whoa! What the hell? Where are your hands, Brian? On the steering wheel? 10 and 2.
He can end up doing pretty terrible things with his car, like ruining the holidays. It's Christmas time in Quahog, and Brian is being a bit of a Grinch.
You don't want me to have a happy American Christmas. Do you really not see that you're crassly manifesting the very consumerism on which Christmas is built? Chris, can you please put the dog out?
Yes, sir.
Tries to wash away his annoyance with alcohol, but ends up even more pissed about the holiday.
You guys know what this holiday is all about, right? It's all about this. It's all about money. Do not even get me started on Christmas caroling.
I've got time. I'm officially getting you started. Name one thing.
Fed up with Peter and the guys mocking him for a Christmas hater, Brian drives off in a drunken rage, loses control of his car, and smashes into Quahog's beloved nativity scene. The vandalized nativity scene causes Mayor West to cancel Christmas, and Stewie drops an anonymous tip so police can find the wrecked car Brian abandoned in a parking lot. Brian is then arrested and spends Christmas morning alone in a jail cell. And that makes him realize the true meaning of Christmas, being with his family. Aww. While the ending of that episode was sweet, drunk driving definitely is not. In the show, Brian was released from jail within 24 hours, but in real life, he would not get off so easily, even if it is Christmas. He would spend a whole year in prison and could be banned from driving for at least 180 days. But worse than that, Brian will be getting a big pile of coal from Santa. Brian is usually a well-mannered dog, but he did take something without permission once. You remember Brian? Son Dylan?
Something on your mind, son?
Well, Brian has no interest in being a father, so he and Dylan see each other about once every blue moon. But in a later season of the show, Dylan reaches out to his dad and asks to meet up. Brian keeps blowing him off, though, but finally gets in contact after finding out his boy is a TV star. He uses his son to leg up his writing career and is hired by the writing team of the TV show Dylan stars in. But Brian's a little difficult to work with.
Really? I'm the only guy here who's heard of that. That sounds made up. Are you afraid right now? No. That's what's wrong. You should be. This is writing, man. The viewer wants to be.
Are you saying my 9-year-old daughter wants to?
Now you're asking the right questions.
His bad attitude eventually gets him fired, and his son wants nothing to do with him anymore. But that's not going to stop Brian from enjoying the buffet. Stealing a whole buffet is extremely petty, but it's still classed as theft. If the producers reported Brian to the police, he could be sentenced to 1 year in jail. But I mean, shoo, that might be worth it. Like, did you see that food? It looked hella good. The dog getting married seems like the cutest thing ever, but it was a nightmare for Brian. Brian meets a new love interest at the bar, but finds out she's dying of cancer and has 2 weeks left to live. So to make her feel better, Brian asks for her hand in marriage, thinking that she won't be around for much longer. But right after the marriage has been made official, the doctor shows up and makes a surprise announcement.
Your attention, please.
Dr. Gravitas?
I want to give you two your first gift. These are your latest test results, and they're remarkable, meaning Jess is going to live.
It sucks for Brian to be stuck in a marriage he doesn't want, but it sucks even more when Jess becomes morbidly obese and adopts like 15 cats. Brian decides that enough is enough.
Mommy was so sad when she had put you all up for adoption. Ooh, I'm going straight to the kitchen to make my favorite meal in a tiny apartment. Microwaved salmon.
But instead of just calling a divorce attorney like any other person probably would here, or try to fix the marriage, he does this. Peter talks him out of trying to fake his own death and suggests that he give Jess a taste of her own medicine by also becoming a super obese, obnoxious slob. But that only leads to Brian developing hip dysplasia. Just promises to take care of him, but simply dumps Brian at the pound to be euthanized. Fortunately for Brian, Peter barges into the vet's office before he meets his fate. There's no law against attempting to fake your own death, but there is one against attempted arson. It's classed as 5th-degree arson and carries a sentence of 1 year in jail. That's enough time for Brian to hit the prison gym and get back in shape again. Brian loves to try his hand at different jobs, but other people usually end up hurt as a result. Peter wants to play with Brian's rope toy, but the dog can be a little possessive. Brian is so upset over losing his teeth that he breaks down in front of his enemy.
Now that you mention it, your face looks like a used condom.
I know.
Don't cry. Be a man.
I'm not crying.
Here, take this.
What is this?
That's my dentist. He'll bill me. I've got an account.
And we know Glenn's dentist probably didn't go to dental school because Brian's new teeth end up being freakishly huge. Brian's big teeth cause him to be mistaken for a realtor, so he just decides to take up the job. To repay Quagmire for his generosity, Brian offers him a special deal on a super luxurious condo.
Nestled somewhere between the ocean and your imagination, Prescott Towers. Come live in the kind of place a Persian guy would say is a little much.
The ceiling is a pool.
Glenn is conned into buying the property without seeing it in person, and when he finally does, it's about as luxurious as a dirty old cardboard box.
I don't know if you want this now, but I bought you a mini cactus.
This is a dump.
Maybe it's still got a nice ocean view.
damn it! Brian screwed me!
Joe reassures Glenn that he's still got 72 hours to get out of the contract, but sly little Brian is on the run for this very reason. Quagmire eventually tracks the dog down in a motel, but it's too late. The 72 hours are up, so he beats the hell out of him.
You son of a...
It's unknown how Brian gets his old teeth back, but we do know that he can be charged with fraud, specifically financial misrepresentation fraud. A guilty verdict would mean 1 year in jail, and he'd definitely be forced to return Quagmire's money. There's a whole bunch of things Brian has done in the show that could see him convicted of disorderly conduct, like public urination.
Yeah, how do you like how this sounds, huh? Try cleaning up this mess while you burn in hell!
Public intoxication.
Oh, thank God. Stewie, you got my text.
And disturbing another person with loud noise.
You get out of here, I'll kill you! But come back tomorrow, same time. I get very sad on Sundays when you're not here.
One account of disorderly conduct would earn Brian 6 months in jail, so Brian would be in the big house for at least 2.5 years altogether here. I mean, that doesn't seem too bad, but we're only just getting started here, keep in mind. There's lots of things they say to never feed your dog, like chocolate, grapes, onions. But there's something else canines shouldn't have either: cocaine. In an episode aptly titled The Thin White Line, Brian gets a job as a drug-sniffing dog for the Quahog Police Department. But on the first day of the job, he accidentally ends up snorting some of the white stuff.
Ah, it's Coke! This is great! Oh, this is the rush I've been looking for.
Good work, Brian.
Still got a little, Oh, thanks.
And I think you can probably guess where this is going.
Everybody, this is Tina.
What happened to you?
Hey, how about a little less questions and a little more shut the hell up?
Brian's drug problem causes him to be fired from the police department, and with no job to keep him busy, he starts acting like an even bigger jerk than usual to his family.
Here, baby, I'll show you the channel Lois doesn't know about.
Chris, look away. Meg takes Joey upstairs. Brian, would you please ask your new friend to leave now?
Things getting a little too real for the Stepford wife? Come on, baby girl, let's go to the park.
Brian's douchebaggery eventually becomes too much for the family, and they stage an intervention. He goes to rehab, gets clean, and it's like nothing ever happened. But Brian wouldn't be able to put his cocaine addiction behind him so fast in the real world. Cocaine is a Schedule II drug in Rhode Island. Possessing it'll mean Brian spends the next 3 years in jail, which seems kinda unfair. Like, it wasn't his fault. He became addicted, but I guess he's still got to face the consequences of his actions. Dogs are supposed to be the loyal protectors of children, but Brian doesn't care about where baby Stewie is or what he's doing. Brian is standing in the driveway browsing the morning paper, and Peter's about to head to work. This sounds like a recipe for disaster, doesn't it?
Huh. Thanks to effective treatments, Magic Johnson down to 1 aid. Oh, God, did I hit that deaf kid again? I'll put a bell on that guy.
Is there anyone in the show who hasn't been hurt by Peter at this point? Brian is wheelchair-bound and must wear an e-collar while recovering from the accident. He feels more depressed than ever, and Peter's attempt to cheer him up only leaves him feeling worse.
Here, have some food. I'm not hungry. Here comes the gravy.
However, Brian finds the joy of life again after singing with Frank Sinatra Jr. on stage. Brian and Frank start performing together on a regular basis, but his musical career is inconvenienced by Lois and Peter dumping Stewie on him. But the little guy proves to be the perfect addition to the duo.
In Rhode Island. Oh, easy, kid. These people paid good money to get in here.
How much are you charging them to get out?
No mistake.
Like a bowl of chowder and a big clam cake.
In all of Rhode Island.
I hate how Stewie's musical talent gets overshadowed by the whole evil genius thing. After the show, Brian goes out drinking and ends up losing the baby. So Lois starts to aptly
Stewie's a good singer.
freak out, but the lost little boy soon reappears.
Dewey was supposed to be in bed 2 hours ago.
He was right here, right next to me like 4 hours ago.
Brian, you were supposed to watch him.
Hey, Brian, remember me? I'm the guy you left standing at the counter at McDonald's with a bag full of burgers.
Lois is such a hypocrite. Like, she's not exactly Mother of the Year herself, but whatever. While Peter and Lois are still bad parents, it was Brian's fault that Stewie got lost and seriously maimed by wild animals. That means Brian can be charged with child endangerment. If found guilty, he would be sentenced to 3 years in jail, but at least there will be no Peter around to hurt him again. Well, given Peter's track record, give it time. I'm sure he'll join him. Pimps are already stereotyped as weird dudes who dress eccentrically, so a dog and a baby joining the party is not gonna help. Brian and Stewie open a bed and breakfast together, but they don't attract the classy clientele they were hoping for.
We're checking out. Just charge my card. That's weird. That's the 5th couple to check out after only an hour.
Hi, we'd like a room, please.
Wait, I'm sorry. Weren't you just here a moment ago with a different man? Oh, Stewie, we have a problem. The only people checking in are here to have with.
Stewie suggests that they seize this opportunity and round up some hookers to work for the hotel directly. Their first day of pimping goes surprisingly well, and there's a whole line of lonely men waiting outside the B&B. But the soon realize that taking over a business from a baby and a dog is super easy.
We just realized we can keep all the money, take your house, and kill you if you try to do anything about it.
All right, we're just gonna step outside and figure out a counter.
Accepting defeat, Brian and Stewie go and sit on a bench opposite their hotel. But turns out the baby is actually one step ahead of the hookers. A sentence I never thought I'd say in my life. Is illegal in Rhode Island, so running a brothel is a very serious crime. Brian can be charged with pimping and be imprisoned for 5 years. Brian rarely takes Stewie to age-appropriate places, and the time they went to a folk festival was just one example of Brian's bad babysitting. Brian attends a graduation ceremony at Stewie's preschool and belittles his friend's achievements.
Big moment. He's moving from the green room to the purple room. And just last month, we had to come here when he went into the green room from the yellow room.
Despite inventing a literal time machine, Stewie believes he has no real achievements in life and decides to take a year out of preschool so he can go traveling. Like true travelers, Brian and Stewie stop at a folk festival and the booze goes straight to the little guy's head.
I am a big fan of sundresses. Just waiting for a big gust of wind, right? See a couple fannies? Yeah? Give a little bare hand slap. That's what we're here for.
Okay, Stewie.
Yeah, just give it a little test tap. See where she's at? Then you're pushing all up on that fanny.
Oh, Stewie.
Yeah, I'll tell you who this Stewie is. This is day drinking Stewie on the patrol for fannies. What are you looking at?
The pair then befriend a hippie girl named Cassandra who asks the dog and baby something very disturbing.
I was thinking maybe we could all have a 3-way.
I'm in.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Why would you have a freeway with a dog and a baby? What is wrong with you?
Totally.
Cool, let's go.
I'm serious, man. I'm doing this.
I am too. Bring it on.
Someone needs to check that woman's hard drive ASAP. They all head back to Cassandra's tent for the 3-way, but before Stewie can be molested, the woman dies of a cocaine overdose. And even though Stewie and Brian did nothing to cause Cassandra's death, they feel it's necessary to hide her body anyway. Stewie's satisfied that he has experienced the real world, and the two of them head home. Knowing that hippie chick was dead but failing to report it is a crime, and actually moving her body and throwing it off the cliff is 10 times worse. Brian would be sentenced to 5 years in prison for violating the law, but he'd probably be more scared of people finding out he agreed to a 3-way with a baby. Jeez, I can't believe I only covered
I'm going to be going on to Whatnot to see how many Funko Pops I can buy with just $100. Let me bid
12 of Brian's crimes so far, and his prison sentence is already like 25 and a half years. And if this dog is still your favorite character at this point, I'm sure these next crimes will change your mind in a heartbeat. Being a 2-time published author isn't an interesting pickup line, but having a time machine is. Brian hits the bar hoping to get laid, but his chances keep getting ruined by guys more successful than he is.
My house has 8,000 square feet.
Wow.
I'm a writer. Published. Twice.
I own a cinder block yard.
In an act of desperation, he says he has a time machine, taking credit for Stewie's invention. The time machine pickup line works crazy well, and pretty soon Brian is bringing back a different chick each night to have the time machine and explore different historical events, like the assassination of Lincoln for one.
Where are we?
Ford's Theater, April 14th, 1865.
Valentine's Day. How romantic.
Sure, you know me.
The president's been shot!
If you ask me, the president's the lucky one. He doesn't have to sit through the rest of the show.
That was satisfying to me, guys. I always hated those old Muppets. But the jig is up for Brian when a young girl notices a sticker on the time machine, which reads, property of Stewie Griffin. Brian comes clean, but the chick he's just had sex with is hiding something even worse from him.
Won't you see that thing on the control panel that says years traveled?
What thing?
It's no big deal. Just reverse it and take off the miles. That's what I do when I take my dad's car out.
Are you 16?
I will be next September.
Somehow, I doubt a high schooler who spends the weekends at bars and sleeping with older men is very into reading, Brian. Having consensual sex with a 15-year-old is statutory Brian would be facing 5 years in the clink, so he better get that time machine up and running pronto. We saw the miserable fate of Brian's siblings in the hands of Stewie.
It's your brother. I found him for you, buddy. What's that big thing around his neck?
Oh, I'll show you.
But his cousin, Jasper, is alive and more fabulous than Brian will ever be. Jasper visits Brian to make a surprise announcement about him and Ricardo.
Okay, all right, time for the big announcement. Ricardo and I are getting married.
Ooh, you hear that, Meg? Guys can marry other guys now. So, if they can do that, that's pretty much it for you, isn't it? I mean, you might as well pack it in. Game over.
You're wrong, Stewie. Meg can always marry Neil. Not that she'd want to, though. Everyone is happy about the engagement, but Lois starts to feel uncomfortable when Brian suggests the couple get married at the Griffin's house. But Jasper and Ricardo's wedding will never go ahead anyway because Mayor West has just banned gay marriage in the bid to prevent citizens from knowing he spent all the treasury on a Diggum statue. Brian is heartbroken for his cousin and starts a petition to fight the new law. Lois refuses to sign the petition, and Chris, wanting to win over a bigoted girl he has a crush on, destroys it.
What the hell are you doing?
I'm gonna get to touch right-wing boob because of this.
You idiot! Now I'm gonna have to get 10,000 more signatures before tomorrow morning. What were you thinking?
I'm not gonna lie, Chris's new haircut makes him look like Lois that time she cut her hair short. Poor Brian stays up all night gathering around 10,000 signatures and presents it to Mayor West in the morning.
This is very impressive, but my decision stands.
No!
Come on, Wade, you'll leave.
No, I can't let Jasper down.
Since his peaceful petition didn't work, Brian chooses violence this time.
I'm not gonna let you sign that. I don't want to shoot you, Mayor West.
Good, because I'm incredibly crafty. Hey, what's that on the ceiling? Ha ha! Now I'm over here.
Lois sees Brian holding Mayor West hostage on the TV and realizes how important legalizing gay marriage is to him. She goes to the courthouse to convince Brian to let the mayor go, and he does. In the end, Mayor West re-legalizes gay marriage since the kidnapping has distracted everyone from the Diggum fiasco. Jasper and Ricardo have their wedding as planned, and everyone lives happily ever after, supposedly. But Brian's ending wouldn't be so happy. He'll be charged with kidnapping Mayor West and would definitely be found guilty. He'd be spending the next 20 years in a jail cell, but at least he'd be there for a good cause. Brian claims to be an animal rights activist, but he really is just a massive hypocrite. Remember that time he participated in an illegal dog meat trade just to make a quick buck?
Brian, I think I know why it's so cheap.
They're made of dog meat. Look at all those poor, sad dogs.
Or that time he hired a hitman to kill Quagmire's cat? Hey, don't put it past Brian himself either. He's killed his fair share of animals too. And it takes a lot of disinfecting to clean up the mess afterwards.
It's perfect.
Yes, this will really...
You just know you're evil when your violence renders Stewie speechless. Animal abusers get 5 years in jail, so Brian will be behind bars for the next 20 years for this, but he'll probably die of old age before he can get released anyway. Brian and Stewie are always bantering with each other, but in the episode Killer Queen, Brian's teasing went way too far. Stewie has ventured through time.
If your paycheck isn't for a couple of days, but you're needing some money now, I got you.
So Dave Extra Cash has been my absolute lifesaver because it gives me a generous advance when I'm needing money the most.
And what's even more clutch is that they send the money to your Dave spending account in 5 minutes and there's no interest or late fees. Yeah, you heard me right. I really struggle in between paychecks and sometimes don't even have enough money for the essentials. And instead of
In space, but is terrified by the Queen album News of the World.
What the hell is that? Killer robot monster? It's News of the World. It's an album by the band Queen, see? Louis, relax. No, Brian, you keep that thing away from me. Is it looking at me? Can it see me? You're really scared of this thing, huh? Does it eat little boys? If it's hungry.
Guess that robot does look kind of creepy. Brian finds Stewie's terror hilarious and buys the record off Peter just so he can torment the baby again.
Good morning, Rupert. Please tell me you set the timer on the coffee maker because I completely forgot. Good morning. Thought I'd help you wake up.
And again.
Hey, can I get a couple of scratch-off lottery tickets?
Sure, Brian.
Oh, Brian, can I do one? I love scratches. Maybe just one. Cherry. Another cherry. Come on, one more. Thanks, Carl.
And again.
Oh, what was I worried about?
Living in constant fear makes Stewie lose the plot entirely and he becomes suicidal.
Stewie? Rupert, we won't give that evil robot the satisfaction of killing us. We'll go together on our own terms. See you on the other side. Stewie, no! What the hell's wrong with you? It's that robot. He killed Queen, and now he's going to kill me.
Poor little guy. Robophobia is no laughing matter, guys. Stewie does finally realize it's just an album and forgives Brian for scaring him like that, but a judge is not. Most people imagine child abuse as being physical, but in Rhode Island, harming a child's mental health can also get you convicted of the crime. And of course, Brian is also partial to physical child abuse as well. Child abuse carries a sentence of 20 years, so Brian would be in prison for a total of 4 decades. Despite that, Stewie's still safer in Brian's care than he is with his own parents, believe it or not.
Ah, damn you! What's all the yelling? Oh my God, what are you doing? First there wasn't enough water, then there was too much.
I get you now, Backgammon. Now I want you to live.
What is it? Ah! Oh!
We all thought Brian had no chance in hell of ever hooking up with Lois, but in the episode Switch the Flip, the Canine's dream finally came true. It all started with Stewie noticing that Brian's dating life had sunk to a new low.
I like you, Brandy.
I like you too.
That's weird. You're on a weird date.
That was the one time Peter said something we can all agree on. To straighten out his friend's life, Stewie built a Freaky Friday-style machine that'll swap their bodies.
Can't believe we actually switched bodies, Stewie. God, your head. It's so heavy.
Gotta have a wide base. Let the shoulders do more. Okay, I'm off to get you a job, a girlfriend, and onto the road less scummy.
Stewie first gets Brian a job as a poetry professor, but ends up becoming the most hated teacher on campus. He then finds Brian a girlfriend, but the woman turns out to be a prostitute accompanied by an angry pimp. Accepting that he failed to turn Brian's life around, Stewie decides that they flip the switch back to their original bodies. But while the machine is doing its thing, Peter and Chris burst into the bedroom and get sucked into the switching process, turning Stewie into Peter, Peter into Stewie, Chris into Brian, and Brian into Chris. Oh, frick, that's a mouthful. This body change leads to an extremely awkward and disturbing conversation between mother and son.
Tell me you didn't forget. This is the weekend we're going to Dr. Johan's retreat.
Remind me what that is again?
The couple seminar where the husband learns how to give his wife an
Are you saying we have to have this weekend?
all weekend long.
As soon as Brian finds out Stewie and Lois are at a retreat, he rushes over with the machine to switch bodies with Stewie, but the angry pimp from that morning stops them in their tracks. Stewie desperately tries to tell Brian how to fix the machine over the phone while simultaneously trying to ward off Lois.
Peter, I'm gonna open the door with no hands.
We've got to act quickly. First, open the back panel. Okay, it's open. All right, now you've got to reverse the voltage orientation and amplify the electron flow to the motherboard. Just say it in English, or so help me God, I will hang up and make you screw your mom.
Brian ends up fixing the machine and replaces Stewie in the fat man's body, and we all know why he did that.
You didn't listen to a word Dr. Johan said, did you?
No, I did not.
Give Brian the benefit of the doubt, though, okay? It must be hard to do his usual moves when he's stuck in the body of a 500-pound man. Lois did not consent to having with Brian, therefore, he her. I mean, she'll never know, but if a court did find out, Brian could be handed a life sentence, and that's at least 25 years in prison. But I don't know, maybe Stewie could help Brian escape by switching bodies with a prison guard or something. Peter and Lois have faced a lot of marriage difficulties over the years, and Brian usually takes advantage of them when he can to try and get with his crush, his best friend's wife. Brian wins an award for an essay he wrote and is invited to Martha's Vineyard to receive it. Peter and Lois are invited along with him, but Peter goes missing the night of the award ceremony. He misses Brian's speech, and when he finally does show up, he's a tad tipsy.
Hey, did I miss Byron's reward?
Brian's award. And yes, you did, Peter.
You've been a good son, Brian, and I'm sorry you're so sick.
Okay, I guess tipsy wasn't the right word to use. The next morning, Lois and Brian spend the day together after Peter ditches his wife and soils himself. I wish I had a clip of that. Actually, no, I don't. By the end of the day, Brian's fantasies of kissing his darling Lois have become too much to bear, and he aggressively makes a pass at her.
Oh my God, Brian! Now stop it!
Can't help myself, Lois. I know you're married to Peter, but I love you and I can't stand it anymore.
Brian, no! No! Get down! This is a good sweater! Off! Brian, I think you'd better go. No! Stop scratching the door!
Okay.
She tells Peter what Brian did, and he confronts him the next day the only way he knows how. PETA with like a word or two with Peter. The episode ends with Brian promising to never let Lois come between his and Peter's friendship ever again, but he probably just said that to avoid being killed by the fat man's wrath. And you'd think Brian would learn to stay away from Lois after that beating Peter gave him, but there was yet another episode where he did something much worse than not.
$76, please?
I need $76. I'll pay you back when I get paid next week.
Just download the Albert app. They'll spot you up to $250 instantly.
Consensual kissing.
Meow. Purr, purr. I think you're dreaming.
I'm not.
Brian committed 2 counts of second-degree assault, and if he was convicted, his sentence may be as high as 30 years. Well deserved. Some kids are scared of Santa Claus because, you know, a big fat geriatric man creeping down your chimney on Christmas Eve doesn't sound disturbing at all. But there was one little girl in Family Guy who loved Santa Claus, and Brian and Stewie ruined the magic for her in the absolute worst way possible. Brian takes Stewie to meet Santa, but the baby doesn't leave a happy customer.
Hello, Santa. We've got a slight problem here. I have been rather naughty. You're a businessman. I'm a businessman. I'm sure we can work something out. Wait, what are you doing? You can't leave now.
Hey, wait, buddy, we've been in line for like 2 hours.
Sorry, I'm done.
That son of a... He just turned his back on me.
When they arrive home, Stewie vows to kill Santa Claus for disrespecting him at the mall. Talk about petty. He forces Brian to accompany him to the North Pole and carry out the job, but upon arriving, they find out Santa's workshop is anything but jolly.
Inbreeding?
Take a look. I started with one family of magic elves. Every year I needed more and more to keep up. Now they're just a sickly race of mutated genetic disasters. At least 60% of them are born blind.
Ah, man, now I kind of feel bad for calling Brian a Grinch earlier. He was right about how terrible the commercialism of Christmas is. Santa is too ill to deliver the presents to the children of the world, so Brian and Stewie's got to take over and try to save the holiday. They reach their first house of the night, but they probably just should have asked the old man for a few pointers because, this happens.
Where's Dan?
Oh, crap.
Quick, Stewie, get the bat!
Mommy!
Find some duct tape.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
All right, let's get this place cleaned up.
While Brian didn't kill anybody that night, it doesn't mean he's getting off scot-free. By moving the bodies and cleaning up the crime scene, he's complicit in Stewie's murders. He could be charged with conspiracy and receive 10 years if found guilty. On top of that, he could get 20 years for tying up that little girl and get an extra 10 for breaking and entering. So Brian is certainly, maybe, probably not a pedophile, but there was an episode where he really definitely did seem like one. Stewie wants to hang out with Brian, but he keeps getting blown off. So worried that the friendship is fading away, he does something that he knows will bring them closer together.
I add Brian's hair and saliva. There. Now I just have to get into the machine, and then the machine does whatever it has to do to me in order to successfully impregnate me. We do not judge the machine. We do not judge Stewie. You're gonna watch me get pregnant. I want to look at you when it happens. Yeah, you watch me.
Don't worry, Stewie got the DNA from Brian's fur and saliva. He didn't go anywhere near. Anyway, the next morning, Stewie announces his pregnancy, and Brian is obviously shocked and worried about what people are going to assume he did to the baby. He immediately demands that Stewie get in a...
We're pregnant. You're pregnant with our baby? How could this even happen? I took your DNA and inserted it into my temporary uterus through my fertilization device.
People are gonna think I had with a male baby and then got him pregnant. Stewie, you have to get rid of it.
Get rid of it? Say the word, Brian. I want to hear you say it.
You need to get a big fat right this second.
And when the baby refuses, he tries to do the job himself. I really don't want to talk anymore.
Is it dead? What kind of monster hits a pregnant toddler?
If you ever lay a finger on me again, I'll burn you in your bed.
Could you do that now, please?
Great work, Brian. Now people think you're not only a child but a child beater. I cannot think of a worse thing for you to do in that situation. Stewie somehow reaches his third trimester within a few days, and the pregnancy side effects start to take a toll on him.
My back is killing me, and I've also been experiencing a little morning sickness. It's for the baby. It's for the baby.
I wonder what Lois is thinking about all this. Either she's so neglectful she hasn't noticed anything is wrong, or she thinks her baby is experiencing the worst case of bloating in human history. Stewie's water breaks before the due date, but Brian can't make it to the hospital in time. This means Stewie must have the baby in the car.
Brian, I'm going to need you to deliver the baby. Can you wait a second while I put a towel down? I don't want anything to get on the seats. Of course, our first priority should be to keep the vinyl clean. Oh, God, it's coming. Can you see the head? I don't know where to look. Maybe you should look at the part of me where there's a baby coming out. Oh! Careful, don't get anything on the seats. I think another one's coming. I don't see it. I think it's coming out of my mouth. They're coming out of everywhere. Kill me. This hurts too much. Holy what is happening? Brian, save the placenta. Do you even have a placenta? Whatever comes out, save it. I want to eat it.
Oh, the writer's a Family Guy must have tried, like, every recreational drug on the black market. To think of that scene, man. Stewie and Brian try to adjust to being the parents of 7 Stewie-Brian hybrids, but they can't cope with their children's many birth defects.
I think that one is blind. We'll have to get him little sunglasses.
Because dog head human ears over here doesn't react to anything I say.
Hey, you! Okay, this one is deaf. We are going to be spending a fortune on schools.
How are we going to pay for that? I don't even have a job.
Well, you better get one. And not writing. A real job.
Why are you being such a jerk?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
I just feel like once I get them on a schedule, everything will be fine.
I'm surprised that one drowned. Like, knowing how messed up the baby's genes are, I was expecting to have, like, gills or something, man. What? Don't look at me! I'm just... 2 more babies died tragic deaths after that, with one meeting a very bloody end under Joe's lawnmower. Eventually, the exhausted parents have had enough of their remaining kids and throw in the towel by dumping them at an animal shelter. Stewie kept his pregnancy and birth a secret in the show, but what if CPS found out about those babies? And specifically, about the 3 babies who died in their parents' care. Well, Brian would definitely be charged with manslaughter for not keeping a proper eye on his small children. 3 Stewie-Brian hybrids died on his watch, so that is a 90-year prison sentence altogether. But since all this was Stewie's fault, hopefully he can get in his time machine and make things right again. Anybody ever seen the TV show The Twilight Zone? If you have, you probably noticed the reference to the Family Guy episode Love Thy Trophy. And if you stuck around to the end credits, you saw Brian off Serling with a shovel.
Oh. Submitted for your approval, a family pet with the uncontrollable urge to bury shiny objects in the yard. A shameful secret that nearly buried the peace and civility of an entire neighborhood.
Rod Serling is just one of 7 people Brian has murdered, to my knowledge. The rest include Ivan Pavlov.
Dog teasing. How's this for positive reinforcement? All right, where to next?
Dean Koontz.
Are you Stephen King? No, I'm Dean Koontz. Oh.
An anonymous waiter.
Later, dink.
And 3 Arabs.
Son of a... Oh, this is like a video game.
Bad racist dog. A life sentence for murder in Rhode Island is at least 25 years. Brian has killed 7 people, so that is 175 years in prison. They say prison meals taste like dog food, so it'll feel right at home there. Now, this last crime is a little weird. As you know, Brian has a long dating history, and only 2 of his previous partners have been dogs.
Stewie, what the hell? These are all my ex-girlfriends.
Interspecies relationships are apparently acceptable in the Family Guy universe, but they are extremely not here. While Brian is technically committing reverse zoophilia, I think the whole talking dog, human level intelligence thing would mean a judge would charge him for the crime anyway. Brian does better in the dating scene than most humans. Throughout the show, he's had 20 non-canine girlfriends. Rhode Island punishes zoophiles with 20 years in prison, so that means he'd be sentenced to 400 years in the slammer. All in all, Brian is a dangerous dog who will be spending a grand total of 870 and a half years in prison. He's definitely not a good boy. But are there characters who are worse than him? Well, click on the screen to find out all the evil things your favorite character has done.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Brian Griffin's prison sentence would be long. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.